Welcome to the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Arese. I'm the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org, a financial education platform tailored to the African Millennial woman. But I'm probably best known as the author of two best-selling personal finance books, The Smart Money Woman and The Smart Money Tribe. I love having money conversations that encourage African women to think bigger and become the chief financial officers of their own personal economies. This podcast is a weekly show that will focus on powerful conversations, stories, and practical lessons that teach African millennial women how to make money, keep money, and grow money. Hello. I'm so excited because I've been obsessed with podcasts for the longest time. And I've always wanted to start my own podcast, but I've always told myself, I don't have enough time, or I need to come up with the right format first, or there's too much on my plate right now to start. But after the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it felt like we were all playing musical chairs and the music stopped suddenly, leaving us all confused and with plenty of questions around our finances. So I thought, why not start now? Create a platform where we can have all these conversations. So COVID hit and a lot of questions I kept hearing around money were like, what does earning look like in the face of a lockdown? Do I still have a job? Can my business survive? How will my investments fare in this crisis? Do I even have any investments to speak of? What is the value of my assets? Do I have an emergency fund? Blah, 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 blah. See, I don't know which table you're on, but in one way or the other, everyone was forced to confront the realities of their financial positions, or at least the short-term consequences of their long-term financial habits. So, for the first episode of the podcast, I thought a great topic would be to begin with overcoming money mistakes, because we've all made them. And I find that learning from your mistakes is always a great place to begin when you want to revamp your personal finances. As the saying goes, you learn more from your failures than you do from your success. Now, I'll start with myself because people often assume that because I create personal finance content, I'm perfect when it comes to my money. This is not true. My goal is not perfection. My goal has always been and will always be to teach others what I've learned the hard way and share the strategies that I've used to take control of my own personal finances over the years. So I've made a lot of money and I've lost a lot of money as well, but I've learned a lot of important lessons along the way. So yes, I have a financial background. I've worked in financial services. My superpower is how to break down the financial jargon in a way that the everyday person can understand, right? So I'm not perfect. It's a journey for me as well, but I have a lot of strategies that I've learned that other people have also imbibed from reading my books, and it's made a huge impact on their personal finances. So smart money is not necessarily about being the richest person in the room. It is about learning how to optimize your limited resources. It's about learning how to master skill sets that you can monetize. It's about learning how to cut expenses ruthlessly on the things you don't care about and spending intentionally on your goals. Smart money is basically a concept that encourages you to find strategies that help you cope in times of difficulty and help you leverage on what you have to get what you want. So we're not all going to go from extreme poverty to extreme wealth. We're not all going to have magical stories, but a lot of us, when it comes to money, we just want to learn how to cope. How do I get from point A to point B based off of what I have now? How do I realize, my vision or reach my goals? Start from my own starting point, right? So my books, this podcast, hopefully give you like the framework that you need in order to learn how to manage your personal finances. So I'm not your financial advisor. My job is to break down the financial jargon in a way that's relatable and fun and give you the financial education and tools that you need to have productive conversations with your financial advisors or whoever handles your money. I've made a lot of financial mistakes on my journey, but I've also learned from them. And I find that there's often a powerful shift in perspective when one is forced to face the consequences of their mistakes. And I've probably learned my biggest money lessons from the three mistakes I'm about to share. So, the first financial mistake or money mistake that I used to make was saving to spend instead of saving to build. Ding, 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 ding. How many people can relate? How many people have found themselves in situations where they realize, wow, I've been saving, but I've been saving to spend it on something. I've been saving, but I've been saving towards financial obligations, but I haven't been saving to build. So I haven't necessarily been building assets that can protect me in the future. Now, I learned this, the hard way. So the first time it really hit me that I was saving to spend instead of saving to build was when my marriage fell apart. I was 27 years old. I had to find a new apartment, buy new furniture, pay 2 years rent up front, pay service charge for 1 year in advance, all with a 1-year-old child in tow. So, to say the least, it was a financial struggle because it depleted my savings significantly. And I found myself thinking, wow, Arese, how did this happen? You work in finance, so you know better. You have a decent job, so you don't have the excuse of saying you're a low-income earner. And you save and invest very regularly. So how did you find yourself here, please? But it was my first aha moment. And one of the biggest lessons I would learn about managing my personal finances, because it was the first time I realized I had been saving, but I had not been saving enough in proportion to the income that I was earning. So I was saving and investing, but I wasn't saving and investing enough in proportion to the income I was earning. So I've always been a regular saver since I was a child. My parents insisted on it. I worked in finance and I knew the ins and outs of financial instruments. So I also invested regularly, but it was always an afterthought. It was something that I did after I had finished paying my bills or covering my lifestyle expenses. So when I took a deep dive into my finances to figure out exactly what I had done with the money that I made, I was shook. I was shook because it hit me that I'd been really good at saving towards important financial obligations like rent, and even better at saving towards lifestyle expenses like buying a Chanel bag or paying for a holiday. But I wasn't saving enough towards assets that could protect my financial future. Now, the thing with things like rent and holidays is that they're great. It shows you that you're disciplined enough to save, but once that money is paid, it's gone forever. It improves your lifestyle, but it doesn't improve your net worth, right? So I'd been saving and investing, but I was not saving and investing intentionally to improve my net worth. So I was saving to spend, but I wasn't saving to build. It was such a huge aha moment for me. Because it's funny how we measure financial success of wealthy people by quoting their net worth. So we'll say Dangote is on the Forbes list. He's worth approximately $8.3 billion. But when we're rating the financial success of our peers, we tend to look at their spending patterns. So we'll say, does he drive a Range Rover? Does she have a Birkin? Does she go on fabulous holidays every year? Because unfortunately, as a society, we've become obsessed with status symbols, and the result is become more important for people to look like they have money as opposed to actually having it. But can you blame us? In my opinion, if you're born in Africa, because of our long history with poverty, the focus is primarily on earning, get a good job, start a business so you can make money. But we're not taught in any formal framework how to keep money or grow money. They don't teach us in primary school, secondary school, or even university. We're just supposed to magically figure out what to do with our money when we get our first job out of uni. But wealthy people know that financial success is not about how much you earn, but about how much of what you earn you're able to convert into assets that can provide you with an income in the future. So it became important to me to calculate my net worth, to know what my net worth is, and intentionally save and invest towards improving my net worth. And I know for a lot of people it's really scary because they're like, ugh, please, I beg, how much money do I have? Do I want to start finding out that's a minus 5 million or minus 100 million, whatever the case may be. But I found that the figure is not as important as the trends in net worth. So as long as you make a commitment to keep growing, you'll be fine, right? And it's an important measure of financial success. We can no longer afford to say that we don't know, right? It was so interesting to me that I think a few weeks ago, there was this argument online and all this outrage around Kylie Jenner's net worth not being $1 billion, right? And I found it funny because, there were so many valid points, but I found it even more interesting that a lot of people didn't understand how to calculate their net worth. So they were out in these social media streets arguing about Kylie Jenner's net worth when they don't know their own. Or more importantly, when they don't know how to calculate their own. So don't find yourself in these streets arguing about whether somebody has $900 million or $1 billion when you don't know how to calculate your net worth. So your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities, right? So make a list of everything you own and its value minus a list of everything you owe and its value. This is what will show you your true financial position, right? So what is your value? What is your net worth?
This episode is brought to you by Wealth.ng. Wealth.ng is a self-service investment marketplace based in Nigeria. It acts as a one-stop shop for all your investment needs, from the convenience of your phone or laptop. They give you access to a bouquet of investments that range from treasury bills, stocks and bonds to agri-products. Download the Wealth.ng app to find out more.
So the second financial mistake that is now fortunately in my past is that I used to have global savings goals, right? So I'm sure most people relate to this, right? You say, yes, I'm saving, I have savings, right? And you're saving into one account. So you're not intentional about what your savings targets are. You're just putting everything, whether it's for your car, whether it's for emergencies, whether it's saving towards your retirement, whether it is money you're saving towards your next trip, it's all in one account. And I find that what happens, guys, is that when we save in one global savings account, we don't know or we don't have a clear idea of what we can afford and what we cannot afford, right? So the money in the bank, it does not always equal to spending. Let me explain. Hi, my name is Arese, and I am naturally an impulsive spender, which means if there's money in my account, I will find a way to spend it. So a long time ago, I found a way to curb this. So I had to learn how to create systems around my money that removed me from the equation. So I created savings buckets for different goals. So an account for emergencies, an account for rent, an account to save towards travel, an account to save towards my short-term frivolous goals, like shopping, eating out with my friends, that kind of thing. But by organizing my money, I now had clarity around where the money I was earning was going. And it helped me save more efficiently. And more importantly, I had a clearer understanding of what I could afford and what I could not afford at any given point in time. A lot of people make the mistake of saving for everything underneath one savings umbrella, which means that when they call you from your village, mama is sick, it comes from that savings account. When your car breaks down, the money comes from the same savings account. You want to buy a house, the money comes from that savings account. You'd like to go on holiday, same savings account. The problem with this is that you never have a clear picture of what you can afford to do, and it makes it difficult for you to measure your progress with your savings goals, right? So if your money is efficiently allocated to all your different goals in different accounts, you can say, oh, okay, I'm halfway to my goal to buy land. I've reached 20% of my goal to buy a new car, right? And instantly, when money needs to come out from somewhere, you can see very clearly whether you can afford it or you can't afford it. So create savings buckets so that you can save more efficiently and you're not just taking out of one account and not clear about what you can afford and what you can't afford. The third money mistake I struggle with, right, is underestimating the importance of an emergency fund. So I've always had an emergency fund. I always have one. But the part I struggle with is prioritizing and replenishing it instead of investing in assets or in my business. Because like most people, I prefer not to think about the possibility of bad things happening to me. Growing up, my parents would say things like, keep quiet, don't use your mouth to say negative things. God forbid, it won't happen to you, because we live in a superstitious society. So even when we see bad things happening to other people, we tell ourselves, God forbid, it won't happen to me. But the truth is, bad things happen to good people all the time, and it can happen to you too. So it's better to be prepared, because the opportunity cost of not having cash to cover your expenses because something sudden happened can be very expensive. Nobody ever plans to lose their jobs. Nobody ever plans to have financial difficulties in their businesses or have medical emergencies. But emergencies happen. COVID happens. And it can be expensive to not be prepared for financial surprises. So your emergency fund is typically 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. And it is designed to protect your long-term investments from your short-term unexpected expenses. But honestly, in Africa, it's more like 9 to 12 months because there are more uncertainties in this part of the world, and we pay more lump sums for living expenses. Like in other places, you pay maybe a month at a time. In Nigeria, you pay minimum of a year ahead or 2 years ahead. So it's better to have at least 9 to 12 months of living expenses saved up, right? And usually you have to see it as a revolving fund. So as money goes out to, say, fix your car, money needs to go back in to replace that money. And that's part of what I struggle with a lot, because when I want to put money back in my emergency fund, I start to think, I can put this money back in my business and make X amount of money. Or if I invested it in another financial instrument, it would make me more money, because your emergency fund is not there to make you money. So you're not putting it in risky asset classes. You're putting it, even if you earn an interest on it, it's like a nominal interest rate, but you're putting it in an instrument that preserves the capital. It's not necessarily there for money making. It's there to protect your long-term investments from short-term unexpected expenses. So I hope by sharing some of my own money mistakes, you've learned some strategies to help you recover from some of yours. I can't wait to hear some of the money mistakes that you've made, some of the personal finance strategies that you've learned on your own journeys. So I'm looking forward to your feedback.
3 key takeaways from this episode. 1, your net worth is the most important measure of financial success. So it's not about how much you earn, but about how much you can keep and grow. 2, there's a big difference between saving to spend and saving to build. Be intentional about both. 3, your emergency fund is the foundation of your financial life. It's designed to protect your long-term investments from short-term unexpected expenses. If you still feel confused about your money, if you're seeking financial clarity and need a framework and strategies to help take control of your personal finances, then book a one-on-one coaching session with me by visiting smartmoneyafrica.org. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm super excited about creating financial content for African Millennial women who want to live a fabulous life, but also want to learn how to find the balance between spending on their lifestyle needs and building assets that could protect their financial futures.